Okay. You've made your swatch, and I went into an explanation about how you can figure out kind of in your head. But if you want to be more exact, and maybe didn't understand the explanation about how to kind of figure it out, I've given a chart where you can take basically 2 measurements and then do some math, and you can figure out with any width desired and any length you want exactly how many rounds you would need to get the width and how many repeats you would have to do in this row 1 in order to get the length you want, so that your length and your width would come out as close as possible to what you desire them to be. Like if you wanted to make a very long, thin scarf, or a very, a little bit wider, like even an Afghan, whatever. All you have to do is have your swatch with your desired yarn and worked in the hook size, and you've got to do enough that you can measure interior rounds. You don't want to have to be measuring up on an edge. You want to be able to measure. There's the line right there, and this is where this one hooks into that one, and that's where I call the end of it. And then you're going to measure 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, which would come to right there. I've already measured this. That is the height of 4 rows, and that is our A measurement. Okay? We'll write all this down in a minute. The other measurement that you need is to know basically what we're going for is what is the length of 1 repeat of the pattern. This is 1 repeat of the pattern from here to here, including the filet box. Okay? The 2 skip stitches. Okay? But it's always better to measure more than 1. In fact, we could measure 3 of them and divide by 3, but we're going to just measure 2 of them, like say from here, that box, down to the end of here. Okay? And I've already measured that and written down the amount. Okay? So, those are the 2 measurements you need. And on the paper, measurement A is the height of 4 rows, which for this swatch, the height of 4 rows is 2.5 inches. And I'm doing inches because you people that work in centimeters and meters and so forth have it easy, and you'll be able to do it no problem. It's a little bit harder in inches, but some of us in the U.S. only think in inches and feet and so forth. Okay, so that is 4 rows. B, we're going to leave blank for a minute, and we're going to write down C, which is the length of 2 repeats of the pattern, which I measured, and it is 4.2 0.75 inches. Okay? And we're going to need B, and then we also need what I call C1, which is the length of one repeat of the pattern, which you divide by 2. And I've already done that on the calculator, and it came out to 2.375 inches. And B I did on the calculator already too, so we won't take up that time. It came out to 0.625 inches, which is 2.5 divided by 4. Okay? This is the height of one row from here to here. Okay? And part of the reason that we need this is going to be included in our width measurement, because it is part of the width. It is not, that measurement here is not part of our length. Okay? So, but it is significant with the width. The length we need this for. Okay? Now, I explain it in the pattern, and I'm going to explain it again, that this is row 1, and when you go around and you go do row 2, you got this one grouping of 2 stitches hanging out there by itself. So you haven't really completed the pattern. You don't have complete groups of, basically 6 stitches in a box, 6 stitches in a box. You've got these 2 hanging out there by themselves. You need to do groups of 2 rows in order to complete the pattern and get even amounts. And that includes on the ends. See, here we've got this one, down here on the other end. See, it's not a complete pattern. But we've done 2 rounds and 2 rounds, and we have complete patterns all the way around, where we have the 6 stitches in our box or our corner. Okay, so we always need, this is why we've taken this measurement of 4 rows, because every time we do 1 round, we've added 2 rows. When we do 2 rounds, we add 4 rows, and it works the same on the end. See, we've done 1 round, and we've already added 2, 4. Okay, so every time we go around and do 2 rounds, we add 4 rows to the length and to the width. See, because we're going all the way around, we're adding to both the length and the width equally every time we do a round. So here we've done 2 rows, 2 rows, 2 rows, and 2 rows down here. So we've done it equally around. Okay? This is why that measurement is important. Okay? Because it's going to help us figure out how to get to an amount that we want to get to. Well, let's pretend with this, we're just going to pick out numbers. But we're going to pretend that for D, we have width needed, or width wanted, desired. We're going to decide that that is 20 inches. We want to make maybe a smallish kind of a shawl. Okay. Well, I've already done, well, actually, I'm going to explain it a little bit. Okay, 20 inches is how much we want for the width to be. Now, for every 2 rounds that we do, we add 4 rows, we add 2.5 inches. So, basically, how many times do you have to do a group, or we'll call them a set of 2 rounds? How many? This is a set of 2 rounds. 1 set of 2 rounds, and it also is equal to 4 rows. Okay, if you can read that. Yep, okay. So, how many times do you have to go around to get as close as possible to 20 inches? Okay? And I already did that on the calculator. You guys can probably do it in your head, but it comes out to 8 times. If you do 8 times 2.5 inches, you will get 20 inches. Okay? Now we also have to add in there plus B, which is 0.625. So we're going to have a width that's just a tiny bit more than 20 inches. A little over a half an inch more. But that's not bad, because the alternative is that we would have to only go around 6 times, because we have to do it in groups of, in sets of 2 rounds. And if we did it only 6 times, we wouldn't get even close. This is as close as we can get to 20 inches. Okay? So, when we add the B, we'll have 20.625 inches. A little more than 20.5 inches, which is pretty close. And let's say that we want our shawl. We're going to put down for the length desired. Let's say we want a 70-inch long shawl. Okay. Now what we're looking for, what we're trying to figure out, is how long we need to make this row. How many repeats do we have to do? Okay. First, how long do we need to make it, and then how many repeats do we have to do to get that length? Well, we can already see here that every time we go around and add more on, for those 8 times, we're going to add not only 20 inches to the width, we're going to add 20 inches to the length. So we need to subtract that 20 inches. And what we're aiming for is a 50-inch long row 1. Okay? We need it roughly 50 inches long. So, how do we get to that? Okay? Does that make sense so far? So we've already subtracted, and what you need to know then is you're at 50 inches. You know that one repeat from here to here is 2.375 inches. And you get out your calculator. And you take 50 and you divide it by 2.375. And that comes out pretty close to 21. So that's telling me 50 divided by 2.375, okay, would be 21 repeats would be 50 inches long. Okay? Now, we also know from the notes in the pattern that when we did this one, we started out with we counted to 8 twice, and then we added 11, because whatever you do in that first row, you're going to end up with one more group of the pattern, one extra pattern grouping. Okay, that's what the 11 gives you, is that chain, your chain 5 for the box, the fillet box, and then your 6. So you know you're going to have one extra. It said we need 21, but we are going to have one extra, so we actually need to count out 8 20 times, and then do our 11 as in the pattern, and that will give you the length that you need to make, how many times you need to make that in order to get to 50 inches. And then once you've done your 8 repeats of sets of 2 rounds, once you've done that, you'll have the extra 20 inches, and you'll have a 70-inch long and 20-inch wide shawl. Okay, that's the first one. We will do one other. Okay, this one's a bit thicker yarn. This one's Caron Simply Soft. It's quite thin compared to this other yarn, even though they both say they're worsted weight. They're obviously very different. And this one is much thicker. This one I think I used a 4.5mm hook for the Caron Simply Soft. And this one I used, I'm not sure, I think it was a 5mm or a 5.5. I don't know. Anyway, the yarn is quite a bit thicker. Measured the same way, but we got different numbers. So we're going to work this one out. And for this one, four rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows was a 3.125. If my math is right, that's 1/8 of an inch. And then we need B and C. And the measurement for C, which was 2 repeats of the pattern, say from here to here, and that came out to 5.25 inches. Okay, I already did the calculation on the calculator, and to get one row, which is what this first one is equal to, which has to be counted as part of the width, that it comes out to 0.78125 inches. Basically 0.78 inches, a little over 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so we also need C1, which is this divided by 2, and that comes out to 2.625 inches. That is the length of one repeat of the pattern from here to there. Okay? For this one, we're going to pretend we're making a scarf, and we want our scarf to be 7 inches. And let's say it's for a very tall person, and we want it to be 72 inches long. You can put any numbers in here, does not matter. But you still can only come as close as you can come while making the proper number of, like, we could not stop here for this one. We have to do one more round at least. We have to do the groups of 2. This is only one group of 2 rounds, or there and there, 4 rows, and we need one other to complete the group of 2 rounds and add another couple rows. Yeah, it'll add 2 more rows in order to complete this, so that it comes out even and doesn't have these 2 lonely stitches hanging out in the corners. So, all right. In order to do the calculation to come out 7, you can almost do this one in your head, but yeah, okay. All right, we want this to, it's 3.125 inches and 7 inches. You can do it in your head and figure out the very closest you're going to be able to come is repeating the 2 rounds twice, which will give you a total of 2 rounds twice is going to be 8 rounds, and then you're going to add this one in, so it'll be a total of 9 rounds altogether, or 8 rounds, 8 rows with the beginning row 1. So, but let's do the math. All right. So we have 3.125 times y equals 7. So if you solve for y, that would be 7 divided by 3.125. And that comes out to a little bit over 2. It doesn't come out equal, but the closest number, whole number, is 2. Okay, now because of that, we need to do, because it didn't come out even, or even close to it, we need to multiply, because we're going to need this number here 3.125 multiplied by 2, which is not 7, because it did not come out even like it did in our last one. It just happened. Okay? Most of our calculations will not come out even. But I did that, and it comes out to 3.125 times 2 equals 6.25 inches. Okay? That is how much is added once you've done 2 rounds. When you've done 2 rounds, this is 2 rounds of 4. And when you've done it twice, you've added it twice. So this is 2 sets of 2 rounds. This is 1 set of 2 rounds. This is 2 sets of 2 rounds. 2 sets of 2 rounds. Okay? So we will need that, because that is how much we're adding. Now, we are still very, very close to 7, because 6.25 plus 0.78 is just a smidge over. What is it, 7.03 or something? Yeah, something like that. 7.03. So we're real close on that for inches. Okay? So that comes pretty close to perfect. Okay, but we want our scarf to be 72 inches long. Now again, for every round that we do, we're adding not only to the width of our scarf, we're adding to the length also. So for every 2 rounds that we do, we're adding 3.125 inches. And we're going to be doing 2 sets of 2 rounds, so we're going to be adding 6.25 inches. So we need to subtract that. Well, we need to subtract from 72, we need to subtract 6.25 inches. And that comes out to 65.75 inches. That is how long our beginning, not the chain, but how long our beginning row 1 needs to end up in order to be 72 inches, or very close to it, when we get done with 2 sets of 2 rounds. Okay? So, what we need to do is we need to take our calculator. I already did this, but I'll show you so that we need to take this 5.75 and we need to divide it by one of these. 2.625. And that comes out very close to 25. Okay? But again, as it's stated in the pattern, you always end up with 1 extra because of that 11 that we do. End up with 1 extra. So in order to get 25, we're going to have to start with 1 less which will be 24 times that we will have to count up to 8 when we're making our beginning chain. So we have to do 24 times, and you can do the math for that, 8 times 24 if you want to do it that way or whatever. Probably be easier when you're doing that many of them. Okay, so that is how to do the math to get to the length, get the proper length that you want. Okay, so, or if you're one of those math geniuses, you can just kind of do it in your head and go, oh, I need to do 24 times. And more power to you. But this is on here for us people that, and I don't think actually, if you have a calculator, the math is not that hard to me. I mean, it's simple multiplication and division, and no high level stuff. I guess we are into algebra when we're solving for y here, but you don't even really need to do that. It's just, divide it. Okay? So that is how to do it. And we will hope that it was an explanation that everybody can understand. And again, I want to point out that there are 2 ways to do the pattern. You can choose whether it slants to the right or slants to the left. Your choice. It's all in how you start out when you do round 2. Right there in that corner, what you decide, whether you do the 2 by themselves and then chain 2 and skip, or whether you do it the way I did it on this one, which I think is how it's written in the pattern. I did it, and I just kept going and did 4, and then I chained 2 and skipped and made the filet going that way. Does not matter. Your choice, but once you make that choice, if you want to continue with it slanting properly, you're stuck with the choice you made on round 2. You continue with that for the whole rest of the pattern. However many rounds and rows you do, that is always the way those, well, it would be your even rows. Because this is row 2, that's row 4, and the same with this one. The only thing is, when you start it this way, the end of the row is where it gets it. It's going to be on one end or the other. But this is what decides the slant, which way the slant goes. So whatever you like the best. I mean, the fabrics are different because one is thicker yarn. But whatever slant you think looks best, it doesn't matter. And so that is how to do the Playing with Filet rectangle.